In this lesson, we are going to talk about shifting elements in an array to the left and right, and then how to swap elements in an array and change their positions. We're not getting rid of or adding anything, we're just moving stuff around this time. Let's talk about shifting. So if we're going to shift to the left, this is how we're going to do it. Shift to the left. So let's go ahead and set up an integer array. And we'll go ahead and call it ray again. And we'll just put 3 items in it now. 1, 2, and 3. Again, we can do this with any array. These are just the ones, this is just the values that we're going to set up here. Okay, so if I want to shift everything to the left, that means that I'm going to want to take value 1 and shift it over here. Value 2 comes over to here, and this one needs to loop back and come back in so that my resulting array looks like this. I'm going to have 3, 1, 2 as my final array. This is what I'm looking for as my result. So we've shifted everything over. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, first thing we need to look at is this move right here. This move is our tricky move, right? So that's the first thing we actually want to do. We want to pull this piece of data out so that we can save it. So we're going to go ahead and say int, and we're going to go ahead and call this temp, and our int and our our temporary value is going to get array at its last position, which is ray dot length minus 1. So this is grabbing the last index, no matter how long our array is, it's going to grab that last index and save it into our temporary storage place. This way we don't have to worry about it later on. We can just shift things over. All right, so now we set up a simple for loop and we go ahead and copy things over. We've already done this in previous lectures. So for our int x equal to 0, we're going to start on the left-hand side and move over. So int x, and we're going to say x is less than ray dot length minus 1. And we're going to say x plus plus. Well, all we have to do is shift those things over. So ray at x is going to get the value of whatever's sitting in front of it. Gets the value of ray at x plus 1. Awesome. We just shifted it all over. Now that we've shifted everything over, our algorithm is going to give us 1, 1, 2. And we still have 3 sitting in temp. So all we have to do now is place 3 into the beginning. And we say ray at 0 gets the value at temp. And this will shift everything over and place that last value into the first one. Okay, let's go the other direction. Well, it's pretty simple. Let's rearrange this so that it is the correct order again. So our new goal is going to have, let's say, shift to the right. And the resulting array that we want to get back to the original 1, 2, and 3. So that's what our goal is. Okay, so we have our goal. That's what we're going to do with ray here. How do we do it? Well, it's the same problem that we had before. We're going to need to save this value here, right? And actually, we're going to save the other value. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what we do have. What we have right now, our current array, is 3, 1, 2. So we want 2 to go here, we want 1 to go here, and 3 is going to come all the way back around. So we've got the same problem where we need to save 3 and then do our shift. So int temp is going to get the value of Ray at 0. And then we're going to do our for loop. And now we need to go backwards in our for loop. And at this point, you should be comfortable with moving backwards in a for loop. We're going to start at int x is going to get the value of Ray dot length minus 1. So we're going to start at the ending value, which is Ray dot length minus 1. We're going to say x is greater than 0. And we are going to x minus minus. Okay, and we're going to do the opposite of what we did before. We're going to take our Ray at our current x is going to get the value of what's sitting in front of it, which is Ray at x minus 1. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So our array after this is going to look like this. It's going to look like, let's think about it real quick. It's going to look like this. It's going to be 1, 2, 2. That's going to be our current array, 1, 2, 2. So now we need to place our array from 0 into 3. So we add this Ray at Ray.length minus 1 gets the value at temp. And that will place our 3 right here. Okay, let's talk about reversing an array. Here's how we reverse an array. So the easiest way to think about an algorithm for reversing an array, if we think about an abstract array idea here, is that we want to pick a set of indices at the beginning and the end, and we want to swap these two. And then we move in one more. Until we get to the middle, which is where we stop. So we actually don't have to go through the entire array. This is actually a faster algorithm than a simple shift one way or the other. It's faster to swap an entire array and reverse it than it is to simply shift everything by 1. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, we do it in a simple for loop. We don't need a temporary value outside the for loop since everything happens inside. So we're going to go ahead and say for our int x, and we're going to give it 0. And actually, let me go ahead and move this down here. We have space. Okay, so for int x, we're going to say x is less than or equal to length, Ray.length less than Ray.length. I'm sorry, it's not equal to. It's regular less than length minus, actually it's just over 2. That's why we don't need the equals. Is over 2. And we're going to say x plus plus. Okay, so here we go. Now comes the slightly tricky bit. So we need to swap. And in order to swap, we need to save one value, copy another one, and then move it back in. Okay, so how do we do this? First thing we're going to do is we're going to copy this value right here and save it into a temporary spot. So we're going to say int temp equals our ray at x. Okay, so we've saved our temporary spot. Now what we need to do is we need to copy this value into our new value. But we need to figure out where this spot is. So we figure out this spot right here by doing a little bit of math. And we go ahead and say int, let's go ahead and call it y, is going to equal what? Well, normally, this would be the ray.length minus 1. So let's go ahead and write that down. Ray.length minus 1. That's where it is right now in the first time we go through. Ray.length minus 1. But it also needs to move in towards the center. And it's going to move in at the same incrementation that our x is moving in. So it's going to move at the same value of x, because x starts at 0 and then goes to 1, and this is just 1 from the end. So it's minus 1 minus x. And this will find our spot on here. So int y is going to be our length, ray.length minus 1 minus x. Okay, so we've now found that position. Now we need to put in our x position that y value, and we need to put the temp back into y. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to say ray at x now gets the value of ray at y. Okay, so now we have the same value sitting in ray x and ray y, and now we need to put the value that was in ray x into ray y. We already saved that in temp, so now ray y gets the value at temp. And that's it. It will run through the entire loop, and it will copy and reverse your entire array. And that's all that we need to do for reversing arrays. All right, those are the basic algorithms for dealing with one-dimensional arrays. I will see you guys in the next lesson.